Okay, okay, I'm back. Sometimes you have to ask yourself whether you want to be right in a relationship or whether you actually want the relationship to work out. I mean, you got to pick and choose your battles in a relationship. And sometimes you have to be willing to admit to your faults without expecting your partner to admit to theirs. If everybody goes into it with that mindset, both individuals, you can have more honest communication. But if you are, like, say, if you're having issues in a relationship and there are, you want to come together, but your ego is keeping you from telling that person how you truly feel about them in this situation and how much you appreciate them. Like, don't assume that people know these things. People don't know. People are not like, people don't look at love or view love the same way you do. Like, for some people, an expression of love might be taking them somewhere, buying them a flower, or, everybody has their own individual's expressions of love. So you have to learn what your mate's language of love is. Like, how do they show it? One way you can, if you're into astrology, you can look at their moon sign, and their moon sign and their Venus sign can show you more about how they are when it comes to love relationships. Venus sign is how you love and how you express your love. But in learning that and studying astrology and seeing that everyone has different moon signs, different Venus signs, different Mars signs, I've learned that you, being that everybody has a different expression of love and everybody has a different love language. So it behooves you to learn the language of your mate. You know what I mean? And the only way you're going to do that is by sitting down, getting to know them intimately. Like, we've lost that. I know social media has created that divide. For example, if you go to a restaurant right now, what do you see most people doing? Their heads are down into their phones. They're sitting next to each other on a bus or at a laundromat. They're not having regular conversation anymore. Everybody's texting. Everybody's on Facebook. Like, there's no interpersonal communication going on. So we have, as a culture, we have to change our habits. We and coming from a generation that didn't have that and now has it, knows it's all about formulating new habits. Because if there was a time we had a habit of talking to one another, now there's a habit of texting. So you know what I mean. It's all about reformulating your habits and making sure that those habits are beneficial to the whole. We need these relationship goals. We need these mission statements. We need these things to keep the relationship intact. Like, it's easy to get a woman, it's easy to get a man, but how many people can actually keep them? If you can't keep yourself, you know what I mean, as far as emotionally, spiritually, then don't expect anybody else to be able to. So, so we have to learn how to pick and choose our battles and learn how to fight fairly. What do I mean about fighting fairly? I mean, there are a lot of times we'll be in situations where we'll get in an argument with the mate and we'll start bringing up old stuff, or we'll start name calling, or things like that. That's not fighting fair. Fighting fair is dealing with the current issue at hand, taking it to the root of the issue, building on that, and then moving on. And then once you do that, you are able to move forward. Another thing that has proven beneficial to me in my life is the habit of not going to sleep with unresolved issues. It's best to deal with those issues right then and now. And then, don't go to sleep. You know what I mean? Resolve those issues, because you don't want to carry yesterday's baggage into tomorrow. and you don't want to deal with it today. So handle those situations. Listen. A lot of times we'll be in situations, and one or the other might not allow the other person a chance to speak. I know I had that issue, and one of the things that's helped me in the past is like designating an object, and the person that is holding that object, they're the speaker. And then once that object is passed along, then the other person has their opportunity to speak. And that way, a person is able to fully express themselves, and there's no rebuttal before a full explanation is made by the person. And it gives the other person a chance to listen to what the person fully is saying and respond based on the complete thought, not just on a phrase that they heard. You know what I mean? And it takes a lot of patience, and it mainly it takes two people willing to put in that work to make the relationship work. You know what I mean? And any relationship really can work if you wanted it to, but it's a lot of trial and error. Relationships don't generally come with a handbook. They do and they don't, but we have to realize that whatever relationship you are in now, you already have all the tools to maintain that relationship. All the other relationships you had prior to that one gave you the tools that was necessary. Even if it's your first relationship, your relationships with your family members and your friends and different things like that prepared you for it. So you take those lessons and you take those tools and you put them to use. What's the use of gaining all this wisdom from things that didn't work if you're not going to apply them to new situations? And we can't be afraid to do that. But most importantly, like I said, we have to know there's a difference between communication and effective communication. If what you're being said is what you're saying, is not being well received by the receiver, then you might as well hold it. You might as well not have said anything at all because they're not taking it. So either you develop a way to speak to them or a time, because sometimes it's a matter of a time frame. Sometimes a person is not ready to hear certain at a time. And you give them that time that's necessary, until they are ready to receive it. Or maybe they're not meant to receive it. Not everybody is meant to receive everything from you. Maybe that person's not meant to receive what you have to offer. You know what I mean? And someone else is. But you can only make that determination once you sit down and have that honest communication. Don't deprive yourself of that. It's you don't want to live your life with regrets of coulda, woulda, shoulda, and thinking about the one the one that got away and things like that. You don't want to feel that. So make sure that in the present moments you're living them. You're creating memories where it leaves you no doubt as to having coulda, woulda, shouldas, and if anything happens, why it happened the way you happened. Why? Because you were living in the moment of it, and you saw what was going on while it was happening, and making changes, and accordingly, and different things like that. So relationships are the greatest. Intimate relationships are the greatest mirror of oneself. And a lot of times, being that it's a mirror, we tend to, instead of fixing what's on us, we'll try to fix what's on the mirror. Like the mirror. Let me just wash this mirror. And it's basically what people are doing on social media when they have all these apps that'll change up the face and oh, you look like you have makeup on and you're not wearing any and things like that. It's the same concept. We have to learn to take these masks off. For what? Why wear them? Just fix, if possible, the flaws, or learn to appreciate them. If it can't be fixed, that means it's meant to be appreciated. Like you can't change it. You know what I mean? So you must appreciate it if it's on you, and we have to realize that about people. Like, we can't change people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, the only person you can change is yourself. So when things go wrong in a relationship, it's both parties' fault. It's not one person's fault that a relationship goes bad. I don't care how bad a relationship is. It's always both people's fault. Whether part of one person's fault might be staying somewhere or having low self-worth, or like self-esteem issues or whatever have you. It's both parties' fault. You know what I'm saying? You can't walk around and act like like you're blameless. So once you know and understand that, and you're not trying to pick your partner apart, instead, those things that you see that you don't like in them, you make sure that those things are not being reflected in you in another form, shape, or fashion. Because a lot of times your mirror image is like those fashion mirrors that can show you like every blemish on your face. That's how your partner tends to look. Like, you flipped over the mirror and now everything's magnified. And now you're like, oh my God, look what's going on with this person. They got this going on. They got that going on. Oh Lord, you know what I mean? But that's the magnified mirror that you're using. You know what I mean? So the magnified mirror lets you see the flaws within you, right? Every mom had one of those mirrors where you can see your face looks bigger on one side and it's regular on the other side. But the magnified mirror showed you what? Your flaws. Same thing like with people. They're your magnified mirror. So if something about a person you don't like, is probably a trait that you divorced, something that you wish you had and you can't get to it. It's something that has to do with you. And when you realize that, you will make those changes within you, and then you see those changes in your relationship, whether they fall away and better relationships fall, or those relationships strengthen. But we all have that free will to decide which way that's going to go. You know what I mean? Like, we have that power. Don't give it away to anyone. Everyone has the power in a relationship. We all have the power to leave or stay. And ego, a lot of times we give our power away to our ego. And our egos could sometimes have us leave or stay. You know what I mean? And we have to determine, is this my heart speaking? Because your heart is not going to hurt you. Your ego will, by no means. Your ego will sacrifice you. But the heart is connected to your soul. And the soul is where the truth lies. So if you're really being guided, and if you don't know the difference, that means you're not in tune with yourself, and you shouldn't be in a relationship, period, until you are in tune with yourself. But you should know what your heart speaks. And if your heart, and follow that. Because if you don't, if you allow your ego to take over, you're going to have a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas. And I'm going to just leave it at that. All right. Peace and love.